On day 181, I'm going to start with a quote that is really impactful that I heard recently, and I immediately knew I needed to incorporate it into a video. It's simply this: stop seeking validation from a world that crucified a perfect man. Stop seeking validation from a world that crucified a perfect man. There's some scripture that pretty closely backs this up, that Jesus is speaking to the masses and he's warning them about the world's hatred. Before I get into the scripture, the thought that pops in my mind is anyone that announces to either their friends or their coworkers or their community that they are a Christian, or they evangelize, or they talk about their faith, it seems like there's a bit of a target that does get painted on their back by the world. A little bit of a microscope that you live under, because people say, oh, well, they're a Christian, so they're going to live perfect. And unfortunately, that's not the case. We can evangelize and be a Christian and still have pitfalls along the way. And I especially see this with famous people that are doing awesome work. Like Tim Tebow comes to mind, where he's evangelizing. There's been other athletes and people that are in the media that have announced that they're a Christian and they follow God. And it seems like people will nitpick and find any situation to try to either find a contradiction in their life or a time where they've sinned and start to condemn them. So it's unfortunate, because people that are truly, that have goodness in their heart, that are truly proclaiming that they believe Jesus is the Son of God and they're following him, seem to have a bit of a target on their backs. And Jesus kind of warns us about this idea that the world is going to hate you at times for what you believe in, especially in Bible times where they were literally being persecuted for their faith. So it says in John chapter 15, verses 18 and 19, Jesus says, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. So again, that quote, I think, just perfectly aligns, and it was very motivational to me, because I always say, like, hey, we need to live for an audience of one, and your actions, you're just accountable to God. And if other people don't understand or are condemning you for not understanding why you're living differently, why you're living in the world but not of it, like I've always had these ideas about living for that audience of one, but I think this quote that I just presented today puts better words around it. It's like, we got to stop seeking approval and validation from a world that a few thousand years ago crucified a perfect man. And we're much less than perfect. So how's the world going to receive us? There's people in my past that I've probably not been able to make perfect amends with, because I maybe didn't act right towards them, or didn't represent Christ, and I've changed a lot. And unfortunately, I'm not able to go back and repair every situation where I've messed up in my past. But understanding this idea that not everyone's going to be on your side, not everyone's going to understand you, not everyone's going to understand why you've changed, like, it helps to give me confidence and understand that, hey, that's okay, that not everyone's going to agree, or not everyone's going to think of you as the best thing. Because even Jesus in his ministry for the 3 years he ministered, didn't change everyone's mind, right? There was people that eventually were so frustrated with what he was preaching that they crucified him. So just understanding that as I go about my day and my week, getting ready to start a new week here tomorrow, understanding that I'm going to love people, I'm going to point people to Jesus, I'm going to do my best, albeit I will fail at times. I'm going to do my best this week to just be a ambassador for Christ, to be a kingdom maker, but not to the point where I'm getting so wrapped up in other people's opinions and thoughts. Because if I truly go about my week seeking validation from other people, it's always going to fall flat. It's always going to not meet expectations, because this is the same world that condemned and crucified Jesus for trying to live according to God's will. So if you face challenges, that difficult coworker, that relationship that you're struggling with, or whatever it is in your life, just pause and remind yourself that you cannot seek validation or approval to a fault from this world, because this world has a way of showing this world has its way of showing non-appreciation or disappreciation, if that's a word. So much so that they were willing to crucify a perfect man. So remember that in this season. Live for an audience of one. If you're living according to God's will and you're doing things for Him, it doesn't have to make sense to everyone else. That's day 181.